It's time for Market Explainer, your number one business news podcast. Hosted by Danny and the big man. And it starts right now.
As always today, I want to remind you that our show is brought to you by ivermectin.
It is not. It is not. Stop it. Go ahead.
I'm kidding. I want to tell you about our Patreon. We are all of our full-length videos are on patreon.com/market explainer. We are obviously doling out clips on our YouTube, but if you're looking for the full thing, it's over on Market Explainer's Patreon. And what else was I going to say? Of course, check out marketexplainer.com. We are always adding new content to our Patreon. In addition to that, to the weekly videos, we're going to be adding other stuff as well.
Keep an eye on that soon. Danny and I are working on actually a promotion for Patreon to get the Patreon subscribers up and stuff like that. So Danny didn't know about that, so it's news to him. But we are working on a promotion specifically for that. So keep an ear open for that. That'll be coming out soon.
Sounds good. So this first story, Sony, the people who you used to buy TVs from, who don't really have any product that is recognizable in the marketplace as being superior to Samsung or LG, is now going to attempt to build a electric SUV.
Well, my first experience, and again, we all know that my age gap between Danny and I'm an old. My first experience with the Sony wasn't televisions; it was a CD player, the Walkman, the Sony Walkman. Wow. That you carried around.
It wasn't a Walkman; it was a Discman.
Discman. The Walkman
was the tape player,
the cassette player. But yes, well, we kind of interchanged it back then. But yes,
the Sony Discman. You're old.
So, but that was my first. If you had a Sony, you were. You were the man.
I had a Westinghouse, so
yeah, exactly. But yeah, they are getting. Look, this is a couple of years ago. Sony actually created an EV car, right?
Yeah,
concept called a Vision S, and they have turned around and re-looked at this. Sony is not going to get into building cars. No, they're just not, right?
Let me tell you what's going to happen. Here's my opinion. I think they're going to end up partnering with a large Japanese automaker. My guess is here and now it's going to be Honda, because the Japanese automakers, Honda, Toyota, Nissan, have been less than enthusiastic about EVs. And, the CEO of Toyota has been very vocal about his opposition to EVs. So they haven't been working on developing EVs. And they're going to get their behinds handed to them in the EV market by the Chinese and Korean competition. So what's going to happen is I think Sony is going to end up partnering with Honda because they just don't have the manufacturing capacity to build a friggin' car. But they've developed what looks like a decent piece of equipment.
Well, developed is loose in this case, and here's why. First of all, I don't think any major technology company, they don't want to be left out of the EV market in some way.
Why would you?
And that's the only reason all of these companies are creating EV divisions, even if they know Sony has no desire to create a car. What they do want is a piece of going forward. They want to partner with someone. You can't do that unless you put some money in to go, here's what I bring to the table, whether it's software, hardware, whatever it may be. In this case, they're still not building it. And this one, when you say a partner, they're building it. They partnered with this company called Magna Steyr, STYR. I don't know how you say it.
Yeah, they're a German Magna Steyr. Yeah, they're a car manufacturer. Yeah.
This is, to me, the most interesting part of this story. I had no idea that there was a company out there that specializes in making cars for other people.
Yeah, they're a contract manufacturer. They're a huge company. They a lot of the German cars that you're driving today, at some point in time, Magna Steyr probably built it.
Well, I did, and again, that's what I found most interesting about this. They worked on and created the Mercedes-Benz G-Class, the BMW Z4s, and all the series there. The Jaguars E and I and the Toyota Supra were all originally manufactured by this Magna Steyr, or Magna Steyr, I'm sorry. Yeah. And so so Sony in this case, which to
Right.
me, when you look at this concept and the newer concept division as
Yeah.
version 2, right, is it's a Tesla Model Y. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, it looks. Listen, it's not a Tesla Model Y. It looks like a competitor to a Tesla Model Y in the same way that a Ford Expedition looks like a competitor to a Suburban. Now, here's an
mhm.
interesting little side note about Magnus Steyr. Magnus Steyr originally had a exclusivity agreement with Fisker to produce the Fisker Ocean or whatever. So, and listen, there's in the last 3 weeks there have been 4 or 5 EV companies that just fell off the face of the earth. Okay. I can't
You and I
remember which
called
ones.
that a year ago. You and I
Yeah, of
called that a
course.
year
We knew
ago
that was
that
coming.
yeah.
And how many, there's been a rash of EV companies who have pushed back their launch of, I think Rivian did, Lucid did. Hey, is any,
Bollinger,
Bollinger
Tesla.
got out of the business completely. They said, we're just focusing on commercial, which means they're getting out of the business completely. They're just saying that. Um, Ollie, Ollie went out of business. They for the real car people, you know them as Local Motors, the first people to basically 3D community 3D print a car. The Rally Fighter, which was really cool. A rash of companies just fell off the face of the earth. Hey, what happened to Faraday Future? I think it was $4 billion got burned trying to get Faraday Future off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Lucid. Well, I want to drive one of these things, right?
You and me both. I want to buy. Look, I would be one of those people that would buy one if I could get my hands on an
Yeah,
electric pickup truck. I would.
right.
I would 100% buy one.
So listen,
But you
if
can't.
you just wait, they just pushed back Cybertruck to 2023. Um,
Well,
gonna,
the official announcement was they pushed it back indefinitely until they figure some stuff out.
yeah, which
Look, building a vehicle is tough. There's a
correct.
reason that there's not a 50 billion, manufacturers
Right.
of cars. There's only what, a dozen in the world that do it. You know what I mean?
At this scale. Listen, there's a reason why even a company like General Motors in 2008 had to shed what 4 brands, right?
Yes.
They're bringing one back. They're bringing Hummers.
Well,
back
all of them
now,
did.
but,
Ford shed
Yeah.
brands. At the
Yeah.
time, Diamond Chrysler had to be sold, right,
Yeah.
and become a different company. General Motors shed brands and stuff like that. So again, you have a half a dozen in the world that are large
Correct.
scale, car
Manufacturers.
creators. So it's not easy to start a car company. And then on top of that, you add in the technology of electric vehicle, battery. I still stand by my original comment that unless there is a big, large jump in battery power, right, technology, that what we're looking at for the future is not all electric. It's more of
Yeah,
a
it's gonna
hybrid
be-
model.
Yeah, and I get the technologists who are out there pushing the narrative of we're going full EV. But I'm just saying for the next 25 years, my guess is there's going to be a lot more gas electric hybrids than there will be full EVs. That
Why
makes
wouldn't
sense
you?
to me.
And if that does happen, and here's why that also makes sense, not just from a, hey, going straight to all electric is the carbon footprint is A, not as good as you think, and B,
Right.
it's a lot of technology that's just not quite there yet, and maybe eventually it will be. But it makes sense. It would be easy for Ford, General Motors, Toyota, all of these companies to switch to a hybrid model in their
Correct.
factories, in
Right.
their existing car models, and all of this moving forward. It would be so very easy for that connect rather than build a Tesla from scratch, which Tesla
Right.
still has not quite figured out. Hence
Correct.
their gigafactory in Berlin, their gigafactory here in Texas. They're all trying to figure this out,
Right.
and they just haven't quite done it yet.
So here's what I do see. I definitely see Sony went out there and built this really, I think, as a marketing piece to say, don't forget about Sony. Sony's still here. We're still building cameras and televisions, and we might get into electric cars. And I do think that Sony has the opportunity to bring whatever this concept is to a company, probably, like I said, Honda, Toyota's so well capitalized it doesn't need a partnership or whatever. And I don't, like I said, I think it makes a lot more sense as a product from an established car maker. I think a lot of people think that um listen, this is the future, no disagreement there, but I think a lot of people think that it's coming sooner than it is. And why wouldn't they though? If you
Yeah.
look at the rapid scale of, your cell phone, for instance, like 10 years ago, what was your cell phone versus today? But they just don't understand that the cell phone as an appliance, it really isn't the same thing as a car. There's
No,
so
no,
much
no.
more that goes into the car.
Longevity, cost of replacing it. A car is going to break on, you know what I mean?
Of course.
If and any of these, see, that's where look, and the amount of money being spent on marketing is a lot. A lot of
Huge.
people, a lot of
It's
companies
wild.
are spending a lot of money on marketing for EVs. So they're being told that EVs are the future. Whether it creates itself or not is just kind of, hey, this is what's hot, this is what's trending, and that's what marketing dollars are for. Buy from General Motors now because we're working on electric vehicles for the future. Look, that they've been doing that since the 50s. Right? And saying, "Hey, this is what's coming next."
And Chevy just said, we're going to launch in 2024 or something like that, the Silverado EV. Hey, bud, you promised me a Hummer EV. How about you just give it? I just want to go. I understand I'm not going to be able to buy one because I'm not going to buy one, but I just want to go down to a GMC dealer and look at your Hummer EV. Right. And we're not even to the point where that's a situation.
No, because they can't send one to every dealership because they don't even have that many. Right.
No, they're not even selling them yet. So they're Bolt EUV, the Bolt EUV, they're catching on fire. So hey, General Motors, just saying, maybe put out the fire before you start throwing out more stuff.
Well, look, when you start talking about, when I say, and I said it earlier, I don't think Sony wants to build a car. They might want to. Somebody at Sony might want to. But here, when I look at things with, what the big technology market, the CES in Vegas was just, over. When I sent Danny a story where they actually developed a car that changes colors with the pushes of a button
BMW
at CES, it'll never make it to market, or at least not anywhere in the near future because the technology be insane.
$1 bajillion. Yeah.
But and the reason I say that is when you look at something for not just the pictures of something, but look at the stats behind it, you can very quickly know whether A, it's ever going to make it to market, or B, if they really wanted to make it, or they just put it together for marketing. And when you look at the stats of this Sony, it looks like, and I said, it looks like the Tesla Model Y. It's very, and you're right, it's not exactly a Model Y, but it's very similar in size and shape and all of this kind of stuff. But here's the deal. When you get on the back end stats and compare it to the Tesla Model Y, which looks like it should be the same car, the Sony weighs 1,000 pounds more than the Tesla Model Y. Now, why is that important? When you talk about electric vehicles, every pound counts.
The weight is your enemy here.
Right. So if you're using
1,000 pounds more,
1,000 pounds, the Sony product, the Vision 2 is 5,467 pounds. The Tesla Model Y is 4,555 pounds. That is 1,000 pound difference. And when you're talking about
that's a lot of weight
for a car that looks exactly the same, or very, very, very similar, the same.
And that is exactly why a company like Sony needs a company like Honda to go, we're going to cut all of this out.
We've got to find a way to shed 1,000 pounds to even have a shot.
Yeah.
Because the same battery in both, carrying an extra 1,000 pounds means you wouldn't get the miles, you wouldn't get the...
So, yeah, you're talking about 175-mile range with an extra 1,000 pounds versus 300 roughly from a Model Y.
So you're talking about something they put together for marketing because they didn't even try to make it comparable. That's, again, to me, that's just my insight looking at what it is, right?
No, you're right.
They made it look right with the 20-inch wheels and, you know what I mean, the dashboard or whatever, but that's all on the surface. It's not a realistic you cannot compete on an electric vehicle with another vehicle that's similar that weighs 1,000 pounds more. That's not competitive.
Right.